Emily was only 7 years old when her world shattered on a cold, rainy night. Born with cerebral palsy, she had always relied on her mother, Sarah, for everything, from helping her get dressed to pushing her wheelchair. Though life wasn't easy, Emily found joy in small things. Drawing pictures, reading bedtime stories, and watching raindrops race down the window pane. But that night, everything changed. Sarah stood outside the community center, holding Emily's hand tightly as tears streamed down her face. She had tried her best to provide for her daughter, working multiple jobs and stretching every penny to cover medical bills. But the weight of it all became too much. Too many late nights, too little help, and too much guilt over failing to give Emily the life she deserved. "I'm so sorry," Sarah whispered, kneeling beside Emily. "I love you more than anything, sweetheart. But I can't take care of you anymore." Before Emily could respond, Sarah kissed her forehead, placed a note in her lap explaining what she hoped would happen next, and disappeared into the stormy darkness. For hours, Emily sat there, soaked and shivering, clutching her doll and wondering if her mother would come back. When staff members finally found her, they were struck by her quiet composure. Not crying, not screaming, just staring blankly ahead as if frozen in time. The note explained everything, or at least attempted to. It pleaded with whoever found Emily to ensure she received proper care, promising that this decision was made out of love, not neglect. Though strangers tried to comfort her, Emily couldn't shake the ache in her chest. Why had her mother left? Didn't she love her enough to stay? As days turned into weeks, Emily entered the foster care system, beginning a journey filled with uncertainty, loneliness, and resilience. Little did she know, these early hardships would shape her into someone extraordinary, a beacon of hope for others facing similar struggles. Life in foster care was far from what Emily had imagined. At first, she clung to the hope that her mother would return, that maybe this was all just a terrible misunderstanding. But as weeks turned into months, reality set in. Sarah wasn't coming back. Emily's early years were marked by instability. She bounced between several foster homes, each one bringing its own challenges. Some families treated her kindly, though with distant politeness, as if unsure how to connect with a disabled child. Others were outright neglectful, leaving her alone for hours or forgetting to help her practice physical therapy exercises prescribed by doctors. At school, things weren't much better. Children teased her for using a wheelchair, calling her names like slowpoke or cripple. Teachers often overlooked her needs, assuming she couldn't keep up academically because of her disability. Despite it all, Emily refused to let bitterness consume her. Instead, she found solace in books, escaping into worlds where characters overcame impossible odds and discovered inner strength. Drawing also became her refuge. She spent hours sketching colorful scenes of places she dreamed of visiting someday. One day, during a particularly tough week, Emily met Mrs. Harper, a kind librarian who noticed her sitting quietly in a corner, flipping through picture books. "You have quite an eye for detail," Mrs. Harper said warmly after glancing at some of Emily's sketches. "Have you ever thought about sharing your art with others?" Emily shook her head shyly. "No one cares about what I do." Mrs. Harper knelt beside her, meeting her gaze. "I care, and I think there are plenty of people who will too, if you let them see your talent." That moment marked a turning point for Emily. With Mrs. Harper's encouragement, she began entering local art contests and volunteering to decorate bulletin boards at school. For the first time, she felt seen, not as the girl in the wheelchair, but as someone capable of creating beauty. Still, the scars of abandonment lingered. On rainy nights, Emily would lie awake, staring at the ceiling and wondering why her mother had left. Had she done something wrong? Was she unlovable? These questions haunted her dreams, but they also fueled her determination to prove her worth, to herself and to the world. By the time she reached adolescence, Emily had developed a quiet resilience. She learned to advocate for herself, speaking up when teachers ignored her needs or peers made cruel comments. Though she still longed for the love of a family, she realized she didn't need validation from others to know her value. "I'm not broken," she told herself firmly one evening while practicing a speech for a school event. "I'm strong, and I'll show everyone what I can do." Little did she know, this mindset would carry her far beyond the confines of her difficult childhood and inspire countless others along the way. As Emily entered her teenage years, she began to channel her pain into purpose. The loneliness and struggles of her childhood had taught her something profound. No one should have to face hardship alone. Determined to make a difference, she started looking for ways to help others who felt forgotten or abandoned, just as she once had. Her journey toward advocacy began unexpectedly during a summer internship at a local shelter for disabled children. Though initially nervous about stepping into such a role, Emily quickly discovered how much she loved working with kids who faced similar challenges. She spent hours playing games, reading stories, and teaching them simple art projects. One little boy, Tommy, stood out to her. Like Emily, he used a wheelchair, but unlike her, he rarely smiled or spoke. On his first day at the shelter, he sat silently in a corner, clutching a stuffed dinosaur tightly. "Do you like dinosaurs?" Emily asked gently, wheeling herself beside him. Tommy nodded hesitantly, glancing at her before looking away. "I do too," she said with a grin. "Want to draw one together?" For the next hour, they sketched side by side, laughing over silly mistakes and cheering each other on. By the end of the session, Tommy was smiling, a rare sight according to the staff. That moment ignited something within Emily. Watching Tommy's face light up reminded her of the joy Mrs. Harper had brought into her own life years ago. If kindness could transform even the darkest moments, then maybe she could be that light for someone else. Over time, Emily became a regular volunteer at the shelter, earning the nickname Miss Emily from the kids. Her ability to connect with them wasn't just about shared experiences. It was her genuine empathy and belief in their potential. "You're amazing just the way you are," she often told them. "Never let anyone tell you otherwise." Her growing passion caught the attention of Dr. Bennett, a psychologist who worked closely with the shelter. Impressed by Emily's dedication, he offered to mentor her, encouraging her to pursue a career in advocacy for disabled individuals. "You have a gift, Emily," he told her one afternoon. "Not everyone can turn personal pain into purpose the way you have. The world needs more people like you." Inspired by his words, Emily decided to enroll in college after high school, majoring in social work and special education. It wasn't an easy path, balancing classes, part-time jobs, and medical expenses, but she refused to give up. Every late-night study session and every challenging assignment reinforced her resolve to create change. During her sophomore year, Emily wrote an essay titled "Broken Wings Can Still Fly," sharing her story of abandonment, resilience, and hope. The piece went viral online, resonating with thousands of readers who praised her honesty and courage. Messages poured in from around the world, thanking her for putting into words what so many felt but couldn't express. "This is why I'm doing this," Emily whispered to herself as she read through the comments. "To remind people they're not alone." Her newfound platform opened doors she never imagined. She began speaking at conferences, sharing her experiences and advocating for policies that supported disabled individuals and their families. Her speeches were raw and heartfelt, often leaving audiences in tears, but always inspiring action. By the time she graduated, Emily had already launched a small nonprofit organization dedicated to providing resources and mentorship for disabled youth. Named Wings of Hope, it aimed to empower children to dream beyond their limitations and find strength in community. Yet despite her success, Emily still carried the weight of her past. Late at night, when the world grew quiet, memories of her mother would creep back in. Why had Sarah left? Did she regret her decision? These unanswered questions lingered like shadows, reminding Emily that while she'd built a fulfilling life, a piece of her heart remained unresolved. Still, she pressed forward, choosing to focus on the lives she could touch rather than the wounds she couldn't yet heal. By her late 20s, Emily had transformed from the abandoned little girl on the rainy night into a powerful advocate for disabled individuals and their families. Her nonprofit, Wings of Hope, had grown into a nationwide movement, offering mentorship programs, scholarships, and community-building initiatives. Through sheer determination and unwavering compassion, she became a beacon of hope, a living testament to the idea that even the deepest wounds could birth incredible strength. Her days were filled with purpose. She traveled across the country, delivering keynote speeches at conferences, schools, and advocacy events. Her message was simple yet profound. Disability does not define worth, and every individual deserves access to opportunities that allow them to thrive. Being different isn't a flaw, it's a gift, she often said during her talks. Our challenges shape us, but they don't limit us unless we let them. Audiences were captivated by her authenticity. Whether addressing lawmakers or connecting with young children, Emily spoke from the heart, sharing stories of her own struggles and triumphs without hesitation. People saw themselves in her journey, her pain, her resilience, her refusal to give up, and it inspired them to believe in their own potential. One of her proudest achievements was launching a program called Dream Builders, which paired disabled youth with mentors who helped them pursue their passions. From aspiring artists to budding scientists, these kids found encouragement and guidance under Emily's leadership. Many went on to achieve remarkable things, crediting Emily for believing in them when no one else did. But Emily's impact extended beyond her nonprofit work. She authored a best-selling memoir titled Rainy Nights and Brighter Days, detailing her life from abandonment to advocacy. The book struck a chord with readers worldwide, becoming required reading in classrooms and support groups. It wasn't just her story, it was a rallying cry for anyone who'd ever felt overlooked or underestimated. Media outlets hailed Emily as a trailblazer, featuring her on talk shows, magazine covers, and podcasts. Yet despite the accolades, she remained humble, always redirecting praise to the communities she served. "I'm not special because I succeeded," she told an interviewer once. "I'm special because I refused to stay silent about what needed to change. And there are millions of others out there doing the same thing in their own ways." While her professional accomplishments brought fulfillment, Emily still grappled with unresolved emotions tied to her mother's abandonment. Late at night, when the adrenaline of her busy schedule faded, memories of that stormy evening would resurface. Why hadn't Sarah fought harder? Didn't she realize how much Emily needed her? These questions haunted Emily, though she tried to bury them beneath layers of productivity and purpose. "You've done so much good," her best friend, Mia, reminded her one evening over coffee. "But healing isn't just about helping others. You deserve peace too." Emily nodded thoughtfully, knowing Mia was right. Still, confronting those old wounds felt daunting, like reopening a scar that had barely healed. Then came the unexpected twist that would force her to face everything she'd been running from. In the midst of her whirlwind career, Emily received a letter, one that stopped her cold the moment she read the return address. It was from a nursing home in another state, written on behalf of someone named Sarah Roberts. The name hit her like a punch to the gut. "Dear Emily," the letter began, "my name is Sarah. I am your mother. I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but I wanted to reach out before it's too late. I am ill and my time is limited. All these years, I've carried the guilt of leaving you, hoping someday you might forgive me. Please know that I loved you then, and I love you still." Emily's hands trembled as she lowered the letter, tears streaming down her face. For 2 decades, she had imagined this moment, fantasized about it, dreaded it, wondered if it would ever come. Now here it was, delivered in stark black and white words. Part of her wanted to ignore the letter, to shove it away and pretend it never arrived. But another part, the part that had spent years teaching others about forgiveness and understanding, knew she couldn't turn away. If she didn't confront this chapter of her past, how could she truly move forward? After days of internal struggle, Emily decided to visit the nursing home where her mother was staying. As she packed for the trip, memories flooded back. The sound of rain hitting pavement, the feel of her doll clutched tightly in her arms, the emptiness of watching her mother walk away. She wasn't sure what awaited her at the end of this journey, but deep down, she knew it was time to find out. The drive to the nursing home felt endless. Emily's heart pounded with every mile, her mind racing between anger, fear, and curiosity. What would she say to the woman who had left her in the rain all those years ago? Could she even look her in the eye without feeling the weight of that abandonment? When she arrived, the sterile scent of antiseptic greeted her as she stepped inside. A nurse led her down a quiet hallway to a small room where Sarah lay resting. Her once vibrant mother now looked frail, her hair streaked with gray, her hands trembling slightly as they rested on the blanket covering her lap. For a moment, Emily froze in the doorway, taking in the sight before her. This was the woman who had shaped and shattered her childhood. Yet here she was, diminished by time and illness, looking nothing like the strong figure Emily remembered from her youth. Sarah turned her head slowly, her eyes widening as she recognized her daughter. Tears welled up instantly. "Emily?" she whispered hoarsely, reaching out a shaky hand. "Is it really you?" Emily hesitated, then stepped closer, gripping the arms of her wheelchair tightly. "Yes," she said flatly, her voice betraying none of the emotions churning inside her. Sarah's face crumpled, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I didn't think you'd come. I didn't deserve for you to come." The raw vulnerability in her mother's voice caught Emily off guard. She had rehearsed countless responses during the drive. Angry accusations, cold indifference, but none of them seemed fitting now. Instead, she simply asked, "Why did you leave me?" Sarah's breath hitched, and for a long moment, she stared at her hands, unable to meet Emily's gaze. When she finally spoke, her words were halting but heartfelt. "I was drowning," she admitted softly. "Every day felt harder than the last. I worked 2 jobs just to keep food on the table, but no matter how hard I tried, it wasn't enough. Your medical bills piled up, and I couldn't afford proper care for you. I felt like I was failing you, not just as a parent, but as someone who loved you more than anything." She paused, wiping away tears with trembling fingers. "Leaving you broke my heart, but I thought it was the only way to give you a chance at a better life. I prayed someone would find you, someone who could give you everything I couldn't." Emily listened silently, her chest tight with conflicting emotions. Part of her wanted to lash out, to demand answers for the years of loneliness and pain. But another part, a softer, quieter part, recognized the desperation in her mother's confession. "You should have fought harder," Emily said finally, her voice shaking. "You should have asked for help instead of giving up." "I know," Sarah replied, her voice breaking, "and I'll regret it every single day until I take my last breath. But please believe me when I say I never stopped loving you. Even after all these years, I've carried you in my heart." Tears blurred Emily's vision as memories flooded back. The rainy night, the note, the ache of abandonment that had lingered for decades. She had spent so long building walls around her heart, protecting herself from the pain of rejection. Now, faced with her mother's frailty and remorse, those walls began to crack. "I built a good life for myself," Emily said quietly. "I became someone people look up to, someone who fights for others who feel forgotten. I did all of that without you." Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so proud of you, Emily. You've done what I couldn't. You made something beautiful out of something broken." Emily let out a shaky breath, the weight of 20 years pressing down on her shoulders. She hadn't expected forgiveness to feel like this, not easy or triumphant, but achingly human. "I don't know if I can forgive you," she admitted honestly. "But maybe we can start somewhere." Sarah reached out again, her hand trembling as she placed it over Emily's. "Thank you," she whispered. "That's more than I deserve." In the weeks that followed their reunion, Emily visited her mother regularly at the nursing home. Each visit was a mix of tension and tenderness, moments of connection punctuated by lingering pain from years of separation. For Emily, forgiveness wasn't an overnight decision. It was a process, one that required patience, courage, and a willingness to confront emotions she'd buried long ago. During one of their conversations, Sarah shared more about the hardships she faced after leaving Emily. "I tried to move on," she confessed, her voice heavy with regret. "But I couldn't escape the guilt. Every time I saw a child in a wheelchair, I thought of you. I wanted to reach out so many times, to explain, to apologize, but I was too ashamed. I didn't think you'd want anything to do with me. Emily listened quietly, her heart softening as she realized how much her mother had suffered too. While Sarah's actions had caused immense pain, they were also born out of desperation. A desperate attempt to provide for her daughter, even if it meant letting her go. It wasn't fair, Emily said finally, her tone firm but calm. You left me alone, and I had to figure everything out by myself. But I survived. And maybe part of me understands why you did what you did, even if I'll never fully agree with it. Sarah nodded tearfully, clutching Emily's hand tightly. I don't expect you to forget or excuse what I did. I just hope you can see that I acted out of love, not neglect. Emily sighed deeply, feeling the weight of those words settle over her. Love had driven Sarah's decision, flawed though it was. It didn't erase the past, but it helped Emily reframe it, not as an act of abandonment, but as a tragic misstep made by a woman overwhelmed by circumstances beyond her control. As the days passed, Emily found herself opening up more during their visits. She told Sarah about her journey, the struggles of growing up in foster care, the kindness of Mrs. Harper, and the passion that fueled her advocacy work. You've done incredible things, Sarah said one afternoon, her eyes filled with pride. You've turned your pain into purpose. That's something I could never have done. Emily smiled faintly. Maybe not, but you gave me strength in your own way even if you didn't mean to. Surviving taught me resilience, and helping others taught me how to heal. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, though it remained fragile. Emily knew forgiveness wouldn't erase the scars of her childhood, nor would it restore the years they'd lost. But it allowed her to let go of some of the anger she'd carried for so long. One evening, as they sat together watching the sunset through the window, Emily turned to her mother. I'm not sure I'll ever fully forgive you, she admitted softly, but I don't want to waste any more time holding on to bitterness. Life is too short for that. Sarah reached out, squeezing her hand gently. Thank you for giving me this chance, Emily, for seeing me, not just as the woman who failed you, but as someone who loves you deeply. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she nodded. We can't change the past, but maybe we can rewrite our story moving forward. The final months of Sarah's life were marked by quiet moments of reconciliation. Though physically weak, she seemed lighter somehow, as if the burden of guilt had finally lifted. For Emily, caring for her mother became an act of closure. She read stories aloud, brought photos from her travels, and shared updates about Wings of Hope. When Sarah passed away peacefully one spring morning, Emily felt a mix of grief and gratitude. Grief for the years they'd lost, but gratitude for the time they'd reclaimed. At the funeral, Emily delivered a heartfelt eulogy, speaking openly about the complexity of their relationship. My mother made mistakes, she said, addressing the small gathering of friends and caregivers, but she also loved fiercely, even when she didn't know how to show it. Her actions shaped my life in ways I'm still unpacking. And while I won't pretend everything was perfect, I choose to remember her not for the night she left me in the rain, but for the love she carried in her heart until the end. Her words resonated deeply with those in attendance, many of whom approached her afterward to express admiration for her grace and courage. In the months that followed, Emily continued her advocacy work with renewed purpose. She dedicated Wings of Hope to both her mother and herself, a tribute to the resilience they'd each shown in their own ways. Through forgiveness, Emily discovered something profound. Healing isn't about forgetting the past. It's about choosing to move forward with love instead of bitterness. By embracing this truth, she not only honored her journey, but also inspired countless others to seek peace in their own lives. Because sometimes, even the deepest wounds can heal when met with understanding, compassion, and the courage to forgive. Emily's story, a journey from abandonment to advocacy, and ultimately forgiveness, is a powerful reminder that healing is possible, even in the face of unimaginable pain. Her decision to confront her past, connect with her mother, and choose compassion over bitterness teaches us an invaluable lesson. While we cannot change what happened, we have the power to redefine its impact on our lives. And now, It's your turn to carry this message forward into your own world. Think about the people around you, your family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, or even strangers you encounter daily. How many of them might be carrying unresolved pain, guilt, or regret? Maybe they've been hurt by someone they trusted, abandoned when they needed support most, or judged unfairly because of their circumstances. What if you were the person who stepped in to offer understanding instead of judgment? Start small but meaningful. Offer a listening ear to someone who seems burdened by silence. Write a letter to someone you've wronged or been wronged by, and express your feelings honestly. Sometimes, simply acknowledging the pain can be the first step toward healing. These gestures may feel insignificant, but to someone struggling under the weight of unresolved emotions, they can mean everything. Speak up when it matters. Like Emily choosing to visit her mother despite decades of anger and hurt. Use your voice to bridge divides and foster connection. If you notice someone being dismissed, overlooked, or treated unfairly, advocate for kindness and empathy. Courage doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes, it's as simple as saying, "I see you," or "Let's talk about this." Invest in others' healing. Whether it's volunteering at shelters, mentoring individuals facing adversity, or simply checking in on a friend going through a tough time, every effort counts. By believing in someone, even when they struggle to believe in themselves, you give them strength to keep moving forward. Challenge societal norms. Too often, we dismiss people based on appearances, roles, or past mistakes without considering their full humanity. Break that cycle by looking beyond surface-level differences. Treat everyone with dignity and respect, recognizing that true strength lies not in perfection but in perseverance. Share the story. Stories like Emily's remind us that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things through acts of courage, resilience, and forgiveness. Share this tale with friends, family, coworkers, or online communities. Inspire others to reflect on the power of forgiveness and how it can transform lives, including their own. Get involved locally. Look around your community. What needs fixing? Is there a program supporting families in crisis? Could you mentor young individuals navigating difficult circumstances? Even small efforts add up to meaningful impact when we work together. Tell us your story. We'd love to hear from you. Have you ever faced betrayal or abandonment? Or maybe you've stepped up to help someone overcome negativity. Share your experiences in the comments below. It might inspire others to do the same. Personal stories are powerful tools for connection. They remind us that we're not alone and that our actions, no matter how small, can resonate deeply with others. Advocate for systemic change. While individual acts of kindness matter, lasting transformation often requires addressing bigger issues. Join advocacy groups working to combat stigma, promote inclusivity, and uplift marginalized voices. Write to local leaders, sign petitions, or raise awareness within your network. Together, we can ensure everyone has access to opportunities for growth and healing. Remember, heroes aren't born. They're made through everyday choices to rise above negativity and create positive change. Just like Emily, you don't need wealth, status, or recognition to make a difference. All you need is heart. Let's honor stories like hers by creating our own legacies of courage and compassion. Because when we lift each other up, we rise higher together. Imagine the possibilities if everyone reading this committed to performing one act of forgiveness or kindness today. One kind word, one helping hand, one moment of encouragement could set off a chain reaction that transforms lives. So what will your ripple look like? Will you reach out to someone you've lost touch with? Apologize for something that's been weighing on your conscience? Speak up for someone who needs support? Or perhaps you'll start smaller, by simply smiling at a stranger or telling someone, "You matter." Whatever it is, remember that no act of kindness is too small. Each one contributes to a larger wave of positivity that can reach farther than we ever dreamed. Start today. Be the change. Let's rewrite the future, one act of forgiveness at a time. Together, we can build communities rooted in empathy, resilience, and mutual respect. We can create spaces where everyone feels valued, supported, and empowered to heal. And as we do, will prove that courage and compassion are not just qualities. They're choices we make every single day. So go ahead, choose courage. Choose kindness. Choose to make a difference. The ripple effect starts with you.